All television and radio stations in the United States will now cease their regular programming.
As it's written in chapter 4 of the first epistle of John, Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, test the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Hereby know ye the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesseth that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus is come in the flesh is not of God. In other words, if they don't confess that Jesus is the Messiah who came in his first advent to pay the price for one and all times, then they're not of God. This is that spirit of Antichrist. That means instead of Christ, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. In other words, you've heard that the Antichrist shall appear in Jerusalem from the Gospels, from Mark 13 and Matthew 24, and it's also written in the second chapter of the first epistle of John, Little children, it is the last time, and as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, the Antichrist, even now there are many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. And who is a liar? It reads in verse 22, But he that denieth that Jesus is the Christ, he is Antichrist that denieth the Father and the Son. Whosoever denieth the Son, the same hath not the Father. He that acknowledgeth the Son, Christ Jesus, hath the Father also. So you've heard that Antichrist, instead of Christ, shall appear in Jerusalem, Satan claiming to be God. And the mystery of iniquity doth already work, as it's written in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. The deception is in the world today via the four hidden dynasties of education, economics, politics, and religion, which were set up by the Kenites, the Antichrist plural that we're talking about here. Those who denieth that Jesus is the Christ, he is Antichrist that denieth the Father and the Son. This Antichrist religion gets spread throughout the world via the four hidden dynasties, which were set up beginning in 1830, which is when the any moment doctrine first came into the world, and on up to 1948 when this final generation began, and so-called Christian Zionism began to spread like wildfire. As you may have heard me say before, there are two family trees, so to speak, Satan's family tree, and Satan is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Ezekiel 31 will document that. And the natural branches of Satan's family tree are the Kenites, the sons of Cain. As Christ said in Matthew chapter 7, ye shall know them by their fruits. False prophets, that is to say. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? And remember, we saw not only thorns and thistles in Genesis chapter 3 where Cain was conceived, but also fig leaves, the sons of Cain being the natural branches of Satan's family tree, which is the many-membered body of the Antichrist. Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And because of the deception in the world today, most Christians will cease to be part of the tree of life, which is God's family tree, Christ Jesus, and those who remain virgins spiritually speaking, and become part of the many-membered body of Antichrist, the whore of Babylon. Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. The mystery of iniquity doth already work. And it would be far more accurate to call it anti-Christian Zionism, because it sets the stage for the deception at the sixth seal, the sixth trumpet, and the sixth vial, when the Antichrist, the false Messiah, appears in Jerusalem, that son of perdition, who, as we know from Ezekiel 28, is none other than Satan himself, because Ezekiel 28 is where God sentences Satan to perish, which is what son of perdition means. The son that perishes. Angels being called the sons of God in Job chapters 1 and 2, as well as Genesis 6, when Satan's angels, who are the locust army of Revelation chapter 9, that are cast out of heaven with Satan at the woe of the fifth trumpet. Those angels left their first habitation, as it's written in the book of Jude, rather than waiting to be born of woman, impregnated the daughters of Adam in an attempt to destroy the bloodline from which Christ would come. So they're going to perish also at the seventh trumpet, but only Satan himself is sentenced to perish by name in Ezekiel Ezekiel 28, where he's called the king of Tyrus, and Tyrus means rock because he's the false rock, the false Christ, and those stones weren't smooth that we are told to count in Revelation 13:18 are his children, the natural branches of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the Kenites, the sons of Cain, and Cain was the son of Satan, literally. If you're not a Christian, then guess what? You're part of Satan's family tree by default. You're one of the branches grafted into the tree of the knowledge of good and evil because you believe not upon the only begotten Son of God. If you are a Christian and you're alive at the time when Satan appears as the false Christ, then you're going to be deceived unless you have the seal of God in your forehead, the truth of God's word in your mind, which is the opposite of the mark of the beast, which is the deception. And the Kenites manage those four hidden dynasties that brainwash the world with deception, setting them up for the spiritual kill at the sixth seal, the sixth trumpet, and the sixth vial. That's 666, and that's when Satan shall appear as Antichrist. And the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let Michael the archangel, that is to say, until he, Satan, be taken out of the way, cast from heaven unto the earth by Michael at the woe of the fifth trumpet, as you can read up for yourself in Revelation chapter 12. And then at the woe of the sixth trumpet at 666 shall that wicked be revealed, the wicked one, the false Christ, whom the Lord, the true Christ, at the woe of the seventh trumpet shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, when Satan's role of Antichrist and his one world system are destroyed, as it's written in Revelation chapter 19 verse 20. The note on page 1796 of E.W. Bullinger's Companion Bible on those verses will help you with understanding what he who now letteth will let means. If the subject is Satan, the object must be his position in the heavenlies, from which he will be ejected by Michael, as we know from Revelation chapter 12 verses 7 through 9. That's at the woe of the fifth trumpet, and is when the one world political system comes into being, which then receives a deadly wound, after which Satan appears as Antichrist at the woe of the sixth trumpet, and immediately after the tribulation of those days, the true Christ returns, destroying Satan's role of Antichrist and his one world system, which includes his angels, because Daniel's fourth beast, written of in Daniel chapter 7, is exclusively supernatural. As you can see in verse 11 of Daniel chapter 7, that's 7:11, real easy to remember. I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake, the little horn that we read of earlier in Daniel chapter 7, that's Satan's role of Antichrist, speaking great things and blasphemies, as it's written in Revelation 13, letting you know that it's speaking of the same event, Satan's appearance as the false Christ, the son of perdition. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. This is the same thing written of in Revelation chapter 19 verse 20. The beast and the false prophet, Satan's role of Antichrist and his one world system, Daniel's fourth beast to be more specific, because listen to verse 12. As concerning the rest of the beasts, those who made up the lion, the bear, and the leopard, they had their dominion taken away. No more one world system, no more lion, bear, and leopard, yet their lives, their souls were prolonged for a season in time. The time is the millennium, the 1,000 years, and the season is that short season written of in Revelation chapter 20, where Satan is let loose for a short season, and whoever follows him at that point is blotted out in the lake of fire. When Satan is locked up in the bottomless pit for the 1,000 years, that's when they say, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, as it's written in Isaiah chapter 14 concerning Lucifer, which is Satan, obviously. So as you can see, the word man doesn't always mean human. In this case, it's speaking of the man of sin, as it's written in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. That's Satan in his role of Antichrist, who's also called the angel of the bottomless pit in Revelation chapter 9 verse 11. So don't let the deception of the four hidden dynasties muddy the water as far as the truth of God's word is concerned, because if they're not expecting a supernatural entity to appear claiming to be Christ, performing miracles, great signs, and lying wonders, then they're going to think that it's Christ, and there's how your any moment now rapture indoctrination plays into it. The mystery of iniquity doth already work, setting the stage for the people of the world to receive that mark of the beast in their forehead, which is the deception, the opposite of the seal of God, which is the truth. Both go in your forehead, which is where your brain is, says. So get into your Father's Word now while there's still time so that you're able to stand against Satan and his deception and his one world system and take part in the first resurrection, because blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power, because after the 1,000 years are finished, all who follow Satan will be blotted out of existence after the great white throne judgment. Everyone else goes into the eternity, the third world age.